All right, I think we're live, guys. Hey, good morning, everyone. It's 9 a.m. here for me. Um, David couldn't make it today. Just in the interest of consistency, I thought we would still do this. We're still trying to figure it out as we've been sharing on the podcast. Uh, so we hope that we can add some question and answers, and I think we're going to have this on our website somehow on the same link uh, every week. So then every week you can just go to that link and join us for 5, 10, 15 minutes. Um, David, you made it.
Hey, you started without me.
Well, I wasn't sure if you were going to be able to make it or not. So I was just
Yeah.
explaining that uh, we'll probably have this on a link at some point, like the same URL or website every week. But we haven't figured this out. We're still at number two, Hangout number two. Um, but I think we have Q&A this time loaded. Of course, I didn't send the link to anyone, so it's gonna be amazing if anyone shows up and asks a question. So good morning, dude. Another good week, yeah.
Definitely, yeah. First of all, sorry for being late, traffic as usual. But yeah, was a great week. We recorded a lot of new episodes. Very excited about them. We had three guests. So yeah, I think the listener can be excited about that coming next week.
Yeah, and these were guests, well, except for Steve, these were guests that we hadn't met before, in person or over the phone or something. So you can hear like that we're kind of getting to know them live, on the podcast. But
Yeah.
I think by the end of it, you could tell we kind of got into a flow and a rhythm, and we were kind of. I think the end result was we learned. I mean, we definitely learned something from the Sylvain conversation. So. Uh, Very relevant topic, and he's been in mobile for 2 years building videos. So he's a guy that I read a lot, like I shared on the podcast. So I think this upcoming week will be a good week. Well, actually, we don't have that scheduled yet, do we? We know that it's going to be the next 5 or 6 episodes, I guess.
Yes.
So that's if we're doing three a week, maybe in the next week or two, you'll hear what we recorded this week. And again, we need some in the can, so there's got to be a little delay. Otherwise, like if David's out of town or for whatever reason, it's just there's got to be some kind of inventory of episodes. But we're also trying to keep things like as they're happening. So Facebook mobile ads came out last week, and we had it posted this week. Stuff like that.
Yeah. Have you
Um,
talked about the supposed or at least the speculated acquisition by Apple of the Beats company?
No, I saw that last night. I haven't said anything. You came on like 10 seconds into it.
Okay, great. Yeah, so what do you think about it? I think it's 3.6 billion acquisition. Not yet announced, but pretty sure it's gonna happen. So any ideas? Like
Well,
why
well,
Apple
I
would do
don't
that?
know. Yeah, I just I saw this last night, and I haven't read anything about it yet today. And my reaction was something like, boy, they must have some kind of special um, uh, IP or something that allows them to do something that someone just can't replicate. But these numbers that are being thrown around just blow me away. The
It's crazy.
billions. I mean, it's billions that are just being tossed around like as if it's not that much money. I mean, it's a headphones company
Yeah, for freaking headphones, right?
with pretty colors, and Dr. Dre is your spokesman for 3.2 or 3.7 or whatever. I mean, just so if anything, it's just encouraging. I don't know if it's encouraging, but my main reaction is I need to keep pushing the envelope on the companies I'm starting. Like, we've already talked a lot about moving past basic apps. And, you and I are working on a bigger app. And I've got the Persona app that I've started talking about a lot more, and I'll announce probably tomorrow in the DC, like a private group, and do like a special intro offer there tomorrow. And
Nice.
then,
Cool.
yeah, yeah, it could be a dud. Like, no one could respond, and then, okay, check that off the list, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
next one.
yeah, but then the thing Jesse and I are doing, and I mean, there's just so much that we're doing, and it's like, gosh, Cuban has said this a lot. All you need is one,
Yeah.
and you're, you know, you're, you make a lot of money, and I'm not in it necessarily for that, but it's definitely exciting to think like the headphones maker's 3 billion. So okay, so then what's an app diagnostics company worth? With
Yeah,
with 100 clients or 1,000 clients. So
yeah, that's right. So I'm thinking you have to keep your eye on making sustainable businesses, and that's like our foundation. But on
mhm.
top of that, you can always, it's nice if you can sell a company for that kind of money if you want. So it's, I think, poisonous if you start out thinking I'm gonna do the next Instagram, or in this case, the next headphones company,
Mhm.
because that's like just the probability of that happening is very tiny.
Mhm.
But if you have a solid business and on top of that you can then sell that, well, that's nice. You don't need to.
Yeah, and Instagram didn't even start trying to make the next Instagram. Twitter didn't start trying to make the next Twitter. They just kept building. They kept building things, and they kept improving the products and listening to the market. And then, all right, now it's
Yeah,
worth 30 billion. Or
right.
whatever Twitter's worth.
So
Yeah,
I
pretty.
know that Apple has a patent for headphones that can measure certain metrics of your body, like your pulse
Mm,
and temperature and whatever, And I think that's how do you call it? There's also this like skin galvanic response or something like that,
okay.
and they can measure it with headphones. And so my guess is a wild guess, but that they acquire Beats because I want to bring that to the market, and they know that they can force everybody to use the crappy Apple earphones. So they need a strong partner that also has, a brand and is connected to mainstream and pop culture. And
Yeah.
so, if they can get that technology into the Beats headphones, and the Beats, I do own Beats, so they actually are pretty good headphones. Um, if they can do that, I think it's easier for them to push that technology, which, to be honest, is a little awkward for the normal person, I guess.
Seems like it. Like you're listening to music and you're doing biometrics. I mean,
Yeah, it would just pick it up like without you even noticing. But it,
yeah.
of course, pushes the quantified self movement quite a lot. It would be
Yeah.
just another sensor that apps could use. So could be
I'm just
interesting.
gonna wait until I get my blood robots, where they put the robots in your blood and they measure it
Yeah,
that way. Hmm. Yeah, that is interesting. And yeah, again, it's just so much money that's being thrown around right now. Wow, which is cool. Like it's cool. We talked about this on the Facebook ads episode, which is ABP 27. So it was Thursday's episode. Um, it's cool to see these consolidations between the ad networks and Twitter buying MoPub, and Facebook bought Parse, and all these different kind of acquisitions that keep pushing these things forward. And that's what Apple's doing, especially if they're doing it because what you're speculating, that it's just another thing that pushes stuff forward. It's not just a protective acquisition by your estimation. It's to do a 1 + 1 = 3 type thing.
yeah, because why would you buy a headphones company for such an amount of money? I mean,
I think that question
especially
still
if you're
remains, but
Apple. I mean, it makes
yeah,
sense if you're already in the business of making headphones and that's your main competitor. Yeah, then you might buy them. But why would Apple buy them? There needs to be a special kind of reason. At least that's what I'm thinking.
yeah, no, it's crazy. Um,
And another thing I noticed this week, which I thought we just have to say, either on a podcast or on this live weekly, and the Tim Ferriss has his own podcast. Started quite recently, I think in April,
mhm.
and I think everybody in internet business and all these like-minded related people know him for his 4-hour work week and stuff
Sure.
like that.
Everyone in 9 to 5 knows him too, because it's like the dream to not have a 9 to 5. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So he, on one of his podcasts, I unfortunately can't remember which episode. I think it was the second or the third one. He said that to quote him, is the idea is almost worth nothing. The execution is the hard part,
Yeah.
and this just drives home one of the points that we've been making over and over again. That thinking about the idea is maybe a little waste of time.
I
Thinking too
thought
much
he was a
about it.
fan of the Not Business podcast. I thought he
Yeah,
was with us. No,
Finally.
it's a well-known thought, right? But it seems especially like it's a good reminder when we're talking about apps because everyone has an app idea, and it's just not the funny. I think I even put this in my book was the stereotypical situation would be, your buddy's got an app idea. They want to, or not your buddy. Someone has an app idea. They want to talk about it with someone, so they spend 2 weeks to a month trying to get an NDA and figure out the NDA, and then they pass the NDA to some developer that they know from their cousin, and then they haven't even like looked up in the app store if it exists or what the competition is. Is like, this is, come on guys, this is basic stuff, and then that's just the story that anyone could hear, but then
Here's
you
a
get way past
ridiculous
that.
here's a ridiculous story for you. 2 weeks ago I was in Hamburg, Germany for the JSON conference,
Mhm.
and we arrived at the airport in Hamburg, and we got a taxi to where we stayed, and the taxi driver, he was the conversational kind of guy, and he basically asked us all the time questions what we're doing there, and we try to explain in a average person friendly way what the hell we are doing, and basically he was like, okay, so you're doing apps, and we were like, yeah, okay, so yeah, basically that's what we're doing. And then he was like, yeah, I had an app idea, but I'm not going to tell you because you're going to steal it from me.
Yeah.
Everybody was quiet. It was just like, yeah, that's what's going to happen. And then he was like, it's something to do with Facebook. And we were like, oh, yeah, very innovative.
Yeah.
Probably the next Facebook.
It's probably the next Facebook.
Taxi driver.
Yeah, you know who's best qualified to execute on a Facebook app is the taxi cab driver.
But it summed it up so nicely, because I think that's what in the mainstream, in the normal, like the average person thinks that's how we work as app developers, is we just need the brilliant idea and then we suddenly become rich, and that's how it works. And I think there's this stereotype that everybody with a good idea is the next Mark Zuckerberg. It's really hilarious.
Well, because the stories those are the funnest ones to hear about. There are those stories, right? But then even the stories that you hear about of the Instagrams making $1 billion, or the what's the most recent one that was acquired by Facebook, the chatting one? WhatsApp, thank you. Yeah, even that one's like, oh my gosh, he signed it.
Yeah.
He signed the sales papers in front of the welfare office, and like, oh, he just was rich. But yeah, it's like the real story behind it is, it's like the Flappy Birds thing. It was like their 60th game. It's not like even Instagram was like a week away from laying everyone off, and it's just not how the stories that are aren't.
And technically, I mean, both Instagram and WhatsApp technically are absolutely sophisticated services. I mean,
yes.
What WhatsApp has to do every single day in order to deliver these messages in a reliable way, all around the globe, it's an infrastructure nightmare. So they have to do their work, and Instagram, of course, just as well. So it's not like, it's just an image sharing service. Well, build your own one, then we talk. It's not that easy.
Yeah. We talked about this on the podcast before, and I think I brought up Hot Tub Time Machine, and the guys were, in the past and realizing, they could invest or like build companies because they know it's going to be a hit. Like, we're going to build Google and we're going to build the iPod, and that was the joke. Like, the idea is worthless. Like, that idea is so mainstream now, but it's hard. People forget it in practice, But we hammer it home a lot. But yeah, I'm surprised a lot of these guys, it took so long to have a podcast. I would have thought Tim Ferriss would have been one of the first guys. Basically, David and I are bleeding edge. That's how cutting edge we are. The guy like me who barely knows how to use Twitter is beating
it's just hard to produce a podcast on 4 hours a week. It's just hard.
He does not work 4 hours a week. There's no way.
He makes it absolutely abundantly clear every time he's on a podcast that that's not to be taken literally. Especially not, the goal is not to be lazy, but it makes for good jokes. So
yeah, right. So what else do we want to talk about, David? We've got just some App Business podcast related stuff. We're working on a new website, so you might see it, and it's like in the works. But hopefully by Monday, everything will be up, and I think it looks a lot cleaner. We're starting to add images, just basic stuff. But and then we started tweeting and being more active on social media, just trying to get more conversation going around all of the topics we find interesting. We had a couple people comment that, because I think in one of the last 2 episodes we said, hey, should we do a Facebook group? And a couple people responded favorably saying, yeah, absolutely. I don't think a lot of people don't like Facebook and don't like interacting on Facebook, but the group function is better than you would find elsewhere. So it seems to be an easy way to connect everyone. So maybe we can talk about that. David and I talk a lot offline about other stuff, but a lot of times we're like we're talking about the App Business Podcast live, like in front of everyone during the podcast. Yeah.
You're all part of the journey.
Yeah.
So right now the website is a little bit of a mess. Still tweaking that. I think the subscribe options are gone right now. It's not too good, but we're working on it. Thanks for everybody. Thanks to everybody, by the way, who did leave us reviews. We are starting to read them on the show again. Sorry if we forget that. We'll not forget it, forever, but it may take some time till we get to it in the next couple of episodes. What else, Chris? You think there's gonna be, any news on the website or anything that our listeners should know about, or do we, are we just going to announce like the Facebook group next time?
Yeah, maybe we do that. I feel like let's get the website up, and then let's get the the next thing. Like ideally, it would be good to, when you hit subscribe, not only does it maybe take you to iTunes to subscribe, but then maybe there's a weekly consolidation of the 3 podcasts plus our top tweets plus the Hangout. I mean, I don't know, but so there's some of that I think we should finish up, and then I think we need to better define this. Like, we need to define what the point of this is besides for a review and like a live podcast. We really want to encourage either people to come and like ask questions or hang out, or we're still new at this, so we're kind of figuring out how to use Hangout.
So I'm not sure if anybody's actually listening, so I might have to say this on the podcast again, but on this Hangout, if I'm not mistaken, any listener could join us and ask a question, right? So if a listener is interested in that and they have like any questions, anything with their apps, you should absolutely take advantage of this, because otherwise, in other settings, Chris especially is charging for consulting. So basically you get a little bit of free consulting if you go to our live Hangout and ask a question there. And we'll be happy to do that because we can then share it with everybody. So it's a win-win for everybody, I guess.
Well, and hopefully at some point soon we have the chat underneath. And I've seen this in other groups I participate in, where someone will say, hey, I have a question about this, and you and I will go, well, I think it's this, but I don't really know. And someone else will say, oh, I know that. I have experience with that. And so, that's how you build community, right? Someone else is the expert in something else. And
so I think that's what I would like these Hangouts to be like. It's just like a tool for the community coming a little bit closer together than just the 2 of us talking into a microphone, 3 times a week. You can also not just join in the sense that it's live, but you can actually influence it and share your wisdom with other publishers and developers.
Yep, absolutely. All right, man, I think that might be good for this week, just because a lot of it is like, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. So maybe we actually do it, and then we can add some more to the list next week. But yeah, just in recap, we recorded 3 or 4 episodes this week. 3 of them were guests. I think we had Steve P. Young on, who's you guys might know as another podcaster, and he's also got some apps, and he's I don't know, we just had a lot to talk about. I think that might have been our longest discussion so far. And then this past week, if you haven't caught up on all the different episodes that we posted this past week, it was ABP 25, 26, and 27. I thought these were pretty good episodes. Like The Facebook ads one, we were gaining insights as we were talking to each other, so I think that will be, and I don't think it's too long either, so you could get in and out for like 15 minutes and get kind of the developer's perspective and the publisher marketing guy's perspective of Facebook ads. Basically, I think it's going to be cool, but there's more depth in the podcast. And then we've got a lot more guests coming on, and I guess we would be interested in knowing if people like guests or if they like David and I talking to each other or what.
Yeah.
So.
Or a mix of it or whatever. So let us know, and we'll cater to that. And thanks for the comment action on episode 25. That was a pretty successful episode. I don't know why, but people seem to like it a lot. So yeah, thanks for joining the conversation.
Oh yeah, that was a good one. That was 3 specific things that turned into 8, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I got a question for you, like cultural question. What do you think this beanie is? Do you understand what the logo is?
Say that again, please.
What's this? Do you know what this beanie is? What the mark is?
Never seen it.
You don't know? Okay.
Never seen it.
Okay.
What is it?
I'm just curious how pervasive this stuff is. It's the San Diego Chargers. It's the football team that I'm from my hometown, and there's a big draft going on where all the college players get drafted by the teams. So.
Well, I'm not really into sports, so I certainly don't know the American. What is it? Football? Yeah.
I'm sure you're a big fan of Jason Verrett, but or Verrett or whatever his name is. But yeah. You know what? You, Jesse, a lot of you guys aren't into sports. I'm into. You know what? I think I'm just into San Diego. I like Padres, I like Chargers, I like carne asada burritos. All right, is that a good way to end the weekly talking about carne asada burritos?
Yeah. So value curve going down massively, but
yeah.
Good way to end this.
Well, by Monday we'll have a new website up, and hopefully we'll gain some traction with this thing, and we'll get better at it too. I know right now we're purposely just kind of trying to feel it out, but we'll get it down to figure out how we deliver the most value or most interesting conversation in the shortest amount of time, etc., and include you guys and all that kind of stuff. So so don't give up on this. We're gonna figure this out.
No, the Friday Live for us is really just getting into the habit of it, and you tell us what you want to hear. Otherwise, we'll just try to figure out a format.
Right. All right, cool. All right, David, I'll talk to you. Well, I'll talk to you probably this week, but I'll talk to you for sure next week for some more episodes.
Thanks, Chris. Talk to you soon.
Yeah. Bye, guys.